Or Bays, right?
I'm Taylor Bays.
Okay.
That's
And
spelled
you
like sitting on the dock of the bays.
okay? And you're like a local musician.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I'm
Tell-
from Greensboro,
oh,
mostly.
all right.
But I've played here and there. Up, down, left, right, BA, select, start.
So what got you? What got you into music?
My whole family plays music. I couldn't really get away from it. Growing up, my mom played clarinet, flute, piano. My sister took a little piano lessons, but my grandfather on my mom's side played accordion and piano, and then that whole branch of the family played music. And then my grandfather on my dad's side played gospel music, and pretty much anything with strings on it, he was all over. It was like acoustic. When I say gospel, I mean like acoustic mountain music. And so it's kind of been in my family. My dad plays guitar. Uh, yeah, and I ended up being the musical one. My brother and my sister didn't pursue music. They did briefly. Each of them kind of tried it, you know. But I guess I was the one that really stuck with it, because I remember when I was a kid, there's a piano in my house. There's always a piano, so I was always banging on piano, trying to figure stuff out when I was a real little kid. And then my mom got me my first Yamaha keyboard when I was about 8 years old. And then I started making my own radio shows, and I had my cassette recorder, and I would like make up my own songs and use those as interludes to stuff. So I don't know, I kind of just started doing it. Music interested me. It just happened to interest me more than other things, so I just gravitated towards it. And I think because it was already in my family, it was already instilled in me that music equals good, so I just went for it.
What was the first instrument you picked up?
It's funny, the first instrument I really ever played is probably the one that I'm the least proficient in now. But piano was probably my first, and I never took lessons. I've never taken any music lessons. But I was always just that's piano and keyboard was what I used to kind of learn the basics in terms of octaves and the different note placements, and you go this way and the tone goes up, you go this way and the tone goes down, the basics. But when I got a guitar, when I was about 12, 13, and I wanted to get a drum kit, but my mom wasn't real keen on the idea of living with a kid that was learning to play drums, I guess. So I ended up getting a guitar, and that was it. Once I got that guitar, my dad, I was over at my dad's one day. My parents split up when I was real young, and I was over at my dad's, and he busted out this Yamaha Strat copy that he had sitting around, and he was like, "Hey, I want to show you this." He pulled out an amp and plugged it in, and my dad isn't like a guitar virtuoso by any stretch, but he just plugs it in and he turns the dirt up on it, because I had just this is at the time I had just I'd been listening to Nirvana and the Smashing Pumpkins and anything, Aerosmith, anything that just had some loud guitars in it. So I was like, "Dad, turn up the dirt," and he turned up the dirt, and he was sitting there just playing chords. He was just playing chords, and I looked at him and I was like, I know he's not playing anything that's real hard right now at all, and he rocks. He rocks. I was like, my dad rocks, and that's all you gotta do. Plug it into an amp, turn on the dirt, you rock. So he said, "This is yours now," and he gave me that and my first little practice amp, and I went in my room and I wrote a song that day. Actually, I still have it on a tape recorder somewhere. I had one of those little. I used to carry those. Took little mini tapes.
Yeah, remember those.
Yeah, I used to have one of those on me everywhere I went, and I'd record. I'd record whatever was around, and I have a recording somewhere of the first song I ever wrote on guitar, because I just went in there and just kind of. I mean, it was like basic punk rock riff. That kind of stuff.
So what are some of the bands you've been in?
Ooh, I've played in a lot of bands. Let me see. Should I start chronologically or like somewhat chronologically?
Yeah, that's good.
It'll be easier. I played with a bunch of buddies and throughout high school. Never really played seriously in a band, but had a bunch of buddies that I played with. I think the first band per se that I ever really claimed to be in was me and some buddies. I had like a core group of friends in high school that was like the Posse, and those are my buddies. And a couple of the other guys in there played music, and we used to get together and jam. We had watched this documentary on Papua New Guinea, and it was they have a very different culture over there, and there was just a lot of stuff in the documentary that we thought was hilarious, and went out and started doing. Like there's this one scene where they went out and they killed a pig for dinner, and on the way back they put it down and they just go over to this tree and start kicking it and yelling, and the narrator didn't really explain it until they'd been doing it for a minute that was like a celebration ritual. But anyway, we were dumb high school white kids. So we called our band Poplins on Parade. P.O.P. Poplins on Parade. That was my first band. Shout out Ian, Scott, Ryan, looking at you guys, Will McClanahan. Then later on, let me see, I was in a band called Sounds Good Station when I was about 20, and the rest of the guys in the band thought we were really good. That band lasted about a year or so, and that was the first band that I ever played in that we really like played out and actually had like any sort of steady gigs, and that's how I met a bunch of my other buddies that play music around here, and eventually was playing in a band called Skyfilled Balloons when I was about 23, 24, and we made it up to the open mic at the Old Flatiron, which is a bar that used to be right down that away, about a little less than 10 minutes. And started playing the open mic there, and that's where I met my buddy Matty Sheets. Actually, when I played in Sounds Good Station, I actually played with Matty's old band. He was in a band called Big Red Rooster. We played a gig together.
I remember that.
Yeah, you remember Big Red Rooster?
Yeah.
They killed it. They were awesome.
That was fairly early on in I think his career.
Yeah. So I had met him like at one point, but met him again years later and started hanging out at the Flatiron, meeting a bunch of music people. Since then I've played in, let me see, I had my own band, Taylor Bays and the Laser Rays, for a while. I currently play in a band called Secret Position that I play drums in. And I play in Green Jello sometimes. Don't know if anybody watching this will remember the Three Little Pigs song that was big in the 90s. That band. I play with them sometimes when I can. Let me see, I played in Crystal Bright and the Silverhands, Subterranean Bums. Can I say Dildo on here?
Sure.
Dildo of God. I played in that band for a little while. I've played in so many other bands over the years. And went down to Austin, Texas for South by Southwest a couple years ago, year before last. Played down there with some awesome musicians. J-Mo and the Humans, shouts. Burlap Sax, shouts.
I remember them. Huh?
Yeah, lots of bands.
And you've collaborated with some other. You've been a guest on some other bands' albums, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I've guested on some of my. I've been lucky enough to guest on some of my local heroes recordings, and live sets as well. You guys know the Raving Knaves. If you don't, you better. I was lucky enough to get in on their last sessions for that record, and laid down some guitar and some vocals and stuff. Who else have I done session work for? Jack Carter and the Armory. I've done guitar noodles and vocals and stuff for Jack's music. Tommy Flake, Dildo of God, did a bunch of stuff over their record. Really, I'll jump on just about anybody's record if they're not a jerk.
What about some of the biggest challenges you've run into playing music?
One of the biggest challenges I run into playing music, specifically, okay, I live in Greensboro. Greensboro can be a tough racket sometimes. I do a lot of things around Greensboro to help other bands, to help bring other bands through town. I've done over the past handful of years, because somebody's got to do it. Somebody's got to bring flavor from elsewhere so that people can see other bands from other places, and B, so that those people will come through our town, and then they'll know us and they'll know our city, and then they'll want to come back, and they'll tell their buddies, and then their buddies will get booked in our town, and that's how the music scene grows. You just help people. One of the biggest things that I've run into being a musician in Greensboro is that there seems to be an imbalance between people who are doing it for themselves and only for themselves, who are just squirrels trying to get a nut, which there's nothing wrong with that, and people who are trying to keep the scene alive, people who are going out of their way to book bigger, better bands around here, people who are holding up the networking into stuff, hosting open mics, running sound for people, doing all the stuff, doing all the legwork, and even people showing up at shows and taking pictures, taking videos. So many people that play into a music scene in any city. There's not just the musicians, there's the fans of the musicians, because without people coming to your shows, without people that are into your band, you don't you don't have a show. Sound guy's gonna stop you after 2 songs. But it's just been I think really an issue of finding a balance between pushing myself and my music, because I tend to think I'm a pretty humble dude. I tend to think that. But I have also been playing music for long enough that I know that I know what I'm doing when it comes to music stuff. So, it's only been within the past handful of years really that I've really tried to step up my game in terms of getting shows with bigger, better bands. But if you got to make that happen in Greensboro, you got to do all the legwork. When I go play out of town, I show up and I play and I get paid, and I'm like, wow, it's this easy places? There are places where I can just show up, load in, play, and then I get paid and then I leave. I forget that sometimes because the stuff that I set up, and I do this to myself, and I do it because I enjoy it and because it pays off. Helping people pays off. But the stuff that I set up, I normally don't make money on. I normally just do it because I gotta keep making moves somehow. And sometimes, the primary focus of Secret Position, the band I'm currently playing in the upcoming months, and particularly summer, is going to be playing outside of town, which is its own hassle. But we're only a 2-person band, so it's gonna be easier for us. But that's probably the biggest frustration that I've come into being a musician personally, is finding that balance between wanting to carry your local scene and put the work into making sure that your scene thrives so that your band can thrive more on a local basis and everybody's band can thrive more on a local basis. I try to do that for everybody. And also wanting to just wanting to just, get whatever you can get for yourself and just make everything about you and, just stay laser focused on what you need to do for yourself. Because you do need to do some of that if you're going to get your band out there. You do have to be a certain degree of self-serving, but you can't be completely self-serving and just crap all over everybody else's band, because then you're not going to have any buddies, and then you're also not going to get anywhere.
So we're get down to about 4 minutes here. What's your plans for the future?
Right now, in my immediate future, the Green Jello dudes are asking me to go back on the road with them. So I don't know if that's going to work out sooner or later, but eventually at some point I'm going to be playing with them again. That's kind of one of those. It's less, Green Jello is less of a band and more of like a club. It's more like it's like a big family unit. Just finished Secret Position. Just finished our first record. It's a 3-song EP. We recorded it with my buddy QPC. Shouts. And we're gonna release that in the upcoming month or two. We also have an internet TV show. It's called Beef Love Show Though. Show and though are each 3 letters. SHOTHO. Beef Love Show Though. We have that we're working on, and that's a YouTube series. Right now it's only on YouTube. Eventually we'll put out the Laserdisc compilations and all that stuff. But the Blu-ray with all the extra special features. But we're working on that. We got a lot of editing to catch up on. So there's that. Video editing is another thing that I kind of geek out over. So yeah, putting out this record, finishing up a couple more episodes of Beef Love, doing some more stuff with Green Jello on the horizon. We're gonna release this record probably in, what is it now, April? Probably next month, May sometime. And then we have a lot of people that we're gonna hit up about shows all up and down the East Coast, and even that away and that away a little bit. We're gonna hit the beach, trying to make it up to Jersey and Philadelphia. We both know, me and Josh, Madell, my other guys in the band, we both know people all over the place. So we can move around a bunch. That's one of my main plans. We want to just hit the road a bunch, spread it around, spread the love.
Awesome, man. Well, thank you, Mr. Bass, for stopping by our studio today for this interview.
Thank you. Thank you for considering me important enough to interview. Appreciate it.
Well, good luck with your future endeavors.
Likewise.